Found in the northeast corner of Italy, on the shores of the Adriatic Sea, lies Venice, the Serenissima. Among hundreds of small islands separated by a network of canals and connected by bridges, the Ghetto. The Ghetto is one of the oldest Jewish communities in Europe, where 5 synagogues will be built between the 16th and the 17th centuries, all with discrete facades. Today, the Venice Ghetto is a tourist destination with a vibrant Jewish community which is alive and well and which preserves its religious traditions. For 500 years, the Jews of Venice have been worshiping in their synagogues of the Ghetto in ceremonies which punctuate Jewish life. Like this boy, who is here to celebrate his Bar Mitzvah along with his family and friends. During the Middle Ages, at the time of the Crusades, Catholic Venice welcomes the Jews of the diaspora. From the 11th century, Jews trade with Venetian merchants, but are not given permission to live in the city. All this changes in the spring of 1516. The government of Venice, under the leadership of Doge Leonardo Lorenzo, grants them permanent residence. They are offered a place to settle on an island in a neighborhood located on the outskirts of Venice, which earlier housed the foundries of the city.
So here we are in the Ghetto area, which was the periphery, the northern periphery of Venice, and this is where the foundry that was turned into the Ghetto was found and chosen to place and segregate the Jews while giving them that amount of protection that also made it acceptable for them to stay. In other places it was impossible to stay, so it was an acceptable compromise.
Saul Bassi is professor of English and post-colonial literature at Ca' Foscari University in Venice. He has published several books on Venice and the Ghetto.
Italy and Venice in particular were sort of safer places for the Jews. And Venice was, of course, a great capital. It was an independent state, a republic, where rights were granted to all citizens more than most other places in Europe. Freedom of religion, not by modern standards, by the standards of the day, was pretty big by then.
The first Jews to arrive come from Germany. They are the Ashkenazi, which means Germans in Hebrew. They are quickly joined by the Sephardi, a term referring to the Jews of the Iberian Peninsula, followed by the Jews of Italy, those from the south of France, and then from the Ottoman Empire. From this cosmopolitan explosion, 5 synagogues will be built representing each diaspora: the Scola Tedesca, the Scola Canton, the Scola Italiana, the Scola Levantina, and the Scola Spagnola. They will become the sacred places of the Ghetto.
The identity of Venice is based on Christian and Catholic history. So when the Ghetto was established, one of the conditions was that the first group of Jews, the Germans and the Italians, were allowed to worship, but they had to do in a way that would not offend the Christians. So the synagogues could not be built from the ground. They had to be created within existing building. And so even today, 3 of the 5 synagogues in the Ghetto are almost invisible from the outside. Roughly 12 years into the Ghetto existence, they create a synagogue, means we are here to stay. And Jews know that any time, any day could be their last, and of course the permanence was renegotiated a number of times. But we're still talking about the place that almost uniquely has 5 beautifully preserved synagogues that were originally built in the 16th and 17th century.
Today, in the Scuola Spagnola, a 13-year-old American boy who came especially from New York to the Venice Ghetto to celebrate his Bar Mitzvah. This ceremony will mark his religious rite of passage from child to adult.
The synagogue is not only a place of prayer. Here, there is also an exchange of ideas and meetings. Synagogue, in Hebrew, Bet Knesset, means a meeting place. It is, to a certain extent, where Jews of the community gather and participate. These places also have stories to tell. That's because the names of the congregants are inscribed on the benches. From them, we get a sense of successive family histories from the many who sat here. And this synagogue, which is over 500 years old, has a very long story to tell. One is asked, how old is this synagogue? About 500 years old. How old are the sacred Torah scrolls? About 300 or 400 years old. And you're still reading them? We have to make sure that the Torah is sacred. Even if there is one out-of-place written letter, the Torah becomes no longer sacred. This place represents a continuous flow of history and the story of a people who have participated together in prayer. And even though you feel alone in prayer, you're still praying with the many generations who preceded you.
The Venice Ghetto is one of the first places in history where people, because of their religion, are isolated from the rest of the population and under guard. It is here where the word ghetto finds its origin.
The name ghetto was, in Venetian dialect, a reference on the foundry of copper, which was placed here in this area as a place for the Jews.
Donatella Calabi is an historian specializing in urban architecture. She has published numerous books on the Venice Ghetto.
This word gettare means in Italian, in Venetian, throw away. They threw away the rest of the copper in this area, in the middle of the square, and the place was called, for this reason, Ghetto. It became ghetto when the German Jews were forced to live here, and they couldn't speak Ghetto as the Venetian did, so it became ghetto.
In the 16th century, at nightfall, the ghetto Jews must return to their island. Christian guards lock the ghetto gates and stand guard. 2 boats make the rounds. At dawn, once the bells of St. Mark toll, the guards open the gates. During the day, when Jews leave the ghetto for the city, they must wear badges and clothes which identify them as Jews. Despite being under constant surveillance, the ghetto population continues to grow. From a population of 700 at its creation, it expands to 3,000 in less than 100 years. There is no choice but to adopt the buildings to make room for more people.
The ghetto was a place of buildings of 1 or 2 floors, not more. But very quickly they had to build on top to receive more people. And it was necessary to fragment in the interior the buildings into more flats.
Some of Venice's tallest buildings can still be found here in the ghetto.
I don't think that you can speak about Jewish architecture. If you think that in 16th century, the Renaissance is the moment where the architecture is more monumental, more emphatic in the sacred places more than elsewhere, the attitude of the Jewish population was not to be too visible. The synagogue of the ghetto, at the exterior, they are completely hidden. You don't have any monumental emphasis on their architecture. The only element that you can see from outside are the windows, the large windows, or the skylights.
In the synagogues of the ghetto, in order to read the Holy Book, as much light as possible is needed. This is one of the reasons why synagogues are positioned on the upper floors of the ghetto buildings.
This is a choice given to different reasons. One is religious, being near to the sky, near to God. The other one is the light, the possibility to take light directly from the sky. The canton is one of the most effective and more impressive synagogue, which is why it was important to have natural light.
This synagogue is lavishly decorated. On 3 of its 4 walls, a series of 8 biblical scenes are represented. Over the centuries, the Scola Canton was restored several times. Historians believe that Christian craftsmen are responsible for the creation of these pictorial scenes. Around the corner from the Scola Canton, the Scola Tedesca, the oldest synagogue of the ghetto, paid for by the Jews of Central Europe, who were the first to arrive.
The German synagogue was built in a very narrow building, narrow and restricted between the square and the canal. These spaces are not really geometrically correct. They are not perfect rectangular.
2 centuries after it was initially constructed, an oval balustrade is added to the women's gallery in order to give an illusion of a rectangular space. To accentuate this effect, the fresco painted on the ceiling also takes on the shape of the oval balustrade. This decor was inspired by the theaters of the time. The walls of the synagogue are painted to imitate marble because Ashkenazi Jews, who are the ghetto moneylenders and second-hand dealers, do not have the resources to buy real marble. In addition, the Catholic Church declares that this stone is much too precious for Jews to use to decorate their places of worship.
The ghetto was a very cosmopolitan place. So a lot of different people having different behavior, different cultural attitude, different languages, completely different languages. They even didn't understand each other.
At the time, Hebrew is only used as a written language and is not spoken.
So the synagogue is the place where they can find their own origin and their own culture.
In 1575, the Italian Jews, who are the poorest of the ghetto, build the most modest of all the synagogues, the Scola Italiana. With far less ornamentation, it is also the smallest, accommodating only 25 worshippers. Like all the other synagogues, it is probably built by Christians, because in Italy, as in all Europe, Jews are prohibited from working in construction.
It's a very old decorated way. It's more simple, more equilibrated than the others. The others are very often over-decorated.
The Jewish community is expanding. 25 years after the creation of the Ghetto Nuovo, the city of Venice allots to the Ghetto Jews a new parcel of land, the Ghetto Vecchio. Jews from the Ottoman Empire are the wealthiest. They established their own synagogue within this new quarter. The scale of the Scuola Levantina testifies to their status. It is not found on the upper floors of apartment buildings, but is completely autonomous. Still, in order not to draw attention to this community, the exterior facade is anonymous and discreet.
In the interior is the only possibility for Jews, and their sacred places was to decorate them. You had some similarities in the interior decoration and certainly relationships to the building of churches at the same period. After all, the architects and the builders were the same. So very often this kind of decoration is quite similar to the interior decoration of some churches.
The Ark, made out of sculpted marble, is a refined example of Venetian architecture of the time. Carved during the 17th century, it is probably the work of the studio of architect Baldassare Longhena, creator of one of the most beautiful Baroque churches of Venice, Santa Maria della Salute. These sacred places are not only dedicated to prayer, they are also places of study and education. For this reason, they are all called scuola, which in Venetian dialect means school.
Different.
The largest synagogue of the Venetian ghetto faces the Scuola Levantina. It is the Scuola Spagnola. As in all the ghetto synagogues, this is a living sacred place. The main ritual holy days and daily prayer services are celebrated here among the 17th century Baroque decor. Historians also attribute the restoration of the interior of the Scuola Spagnola to the workshop of Baldassare Longhena.
The Spanish and Levantine synagogues are the largest here, and they can accommodate many more people. Hebrew life is punctuated by important moments: the birth of a child, circumcision for boys. Then, when a boy has his Bar Mitzvah at the age of 13, or at 12 years old for a girl, they have to go and prepare for it in a religious school, and then have the ceremony in the synagogue. Boys do something that girls do not do. They put on a talit, the shawl which is worn during prayer, and the tefillin, which are the filatelli, as they say in Italian, in which are placed written extracts of the Torah. The most important of them being the Shema. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one, which is the best-known prayer in Judaism. We put a tefillin on our head and one on our arm to indicate that we are in the service of God.
In Judeo-Aramaic, Bar Mitzvah literally translates as the son of commandment. A bar mitzvah signifies that the boy has become old enough to fully apply the commandments of the Torah and to obey religious obligations. This is why, during the ceremony, the bar mitzvah boy participates in the religious service. In particular, he reads an excerpt from the Torah in front of the congregation.
Vayomeru alehem rav lahem ki kol ha'eda kulam kedoshim.
The most solemn moment of the ceremony. This Torah reading has taken him nearly a year of study and preparation because he's had to learn classical Hebrew, a language with no vowels or punctuation marks.
Asher yifar Adonai hu hakadosh rav lahem b'nei Levi. We have always survived and have demonstrated how resilient and strong we are as a community and as a religion. And that is true whether we are here in Venice, Italy, in Israel, or back home in Manhattan.
Then he delivers a speech he has prepared with the rabbi's help on the Torah passage he has just read. With his friends and family as witnesses, the young man is now eligible to take part in responsibilities of worship in the synagogue.
Hallelujah, hallelujah.
Venice has a peculiarity that cannot be found in any other Jewish community in the world. It represents a heritage site for the Hebrew people. What is meant by that? Thousands passed through the Venice Ghetto, leaving a trace of their time spent here. Meaning, whoever visits the synagogues of Venice feels to some extent the full weight of history. They take with them the memory and prayers of these synagogues. For this community to maintain its life force, a significant effort must be applied to keep it alive. Therefore, we can never really relax.
Even if today the Jews of Venice do not all live here in the ghetto, it still reverberates with Jewish life. Throughout their 500 years of history, the 5 synagogues in the ghetto bear witness not only as places for meeting, teaching, study, and prayer, but also serve as a reminder of a living and vibrant Jewish culture for all those who visit.